Today on Hearts of Heroes, a string of vicious tornadoes rips through central Tennessee, creating a 100-mile scar of destroyed homes and businesses.
All of a sudden, you come around a curve and you've got massive amounts of destruction along the roadway there.
Then, camp counselors have to think quick to save children's lives.
Okay, we gotta get downstairs to get the kids.
Something in me decided I needed to tell them we need to get down on our knees and cover our head.
Day or night, rain or shine, that's what heroes do, save the day.
In early March of 2020, a slew of twisters ripped straight through central Tennessee, surrounding Nashville. It actually turned out to be one of the worst tornado outbreaks in Tennessee's history.
But when the storms passed, the people who survived had the daunting task of rebuilding their homes and their lives.
Known as the Hollywood of country music, Nashville is dreamland for aspiring singers and musicians that are hoping to make it big. But travel just 17 miles east and you'll find yourself in Mount Juliet, a quiet suburb far removed from the glitz and glamour of the music industry.
Well, Southern hospitality here is more than just a buzzword or a catchphrase. I mean, it's actually a way of life. The elected officials have worked very hard for us to maintain our small town heritage.
But in the late evening of March 2nd into the early morning of March 3rd, a tornado would tear this community apart.
The day of the tornado was kind of overcast, and we saw in the news there was bad weather going on up in Kentucky, which is probably 50 miles north of here. But it was a relatively calm day, regular day.
But as everyone settled in for the evening, the forecast turned grim. Strong wind shear combined with instability was now expected to generate thunderstorms with damaging winds as well as the potential for tornadoes. At 11:20 p.m., a tornado watch was issued.
We had fallen asleep. Jerry was watching TV and I was in our bedroom. And my phone went off with the weather alert. And I was watching it on TV and I saw where the tornado was coming through downtown, which is about 15 minutes from here.
Across town, Bill Wallace and his wife Shirley got an urgent call from their son.
He said, "Are you guys in the basement?" And we said, "No." And he said, "Well, you need to get down there. There's a tornado almost on top of you."
Bill and Shirley rushed downstairs with only moments to spare.
And I remember hearing the siren go off when we were going downstairs.
If you are ever caught in a tornado, one of the safest places to be is below ground in a basement or storm cellar. But if you don't have one of those, get inside a small closet near the center of the home, or even your bathtub.
With sirens blaring across town, Jerry and Karen Warden were preparing for impact. Karen gathered their keys, wallets, and phones and set up refuge in the bedroom closet. Meanwhile, Jerry scrambled to find a flashlight.
And the power went out. And I was screaming, going, "Where are you? Get in here!" And just as he came around the corner, the door slammed, and I thought he slammed it, but it was the wind. And he made it in the closet just in time, and he jumped on me. And just as he jumped on me, I told him, I said, "It's here."
Down in the Wallace's basement, Bill and Shirley could hear that storm approaching.
Everything went dark, and then we heard the noise coming, and then we heard glass breaking up here, and the house was coming apart. The walls started coming in. The cabinet came off of the wall downstairs and hit both of us and knocked us to the floor.
The Wallace's house had crashed on top of them. Bill was able to get himself free, but Shirley, his wife, was trapped under a toppled cabinet.
And I told her, "There's no way we're going to get out of here. We're going to have to wait until someone comes."
Meanwhile, Karen Warden and her husband were holed up in their bedroom closet as the tornado focused in on their home.
And then he just said, "Hold on," and the wind, the house just all started shaking. and I was screaming. And then we hit the floor, and that was it.
It was probably just a matter of seconds when everything blew up.
The tornado had picked up the warden's home, threw it more than 12 feet in the air, and slammed it down, crushing it around them.
As you could tell, the winds and everything started dying down, but the rain was still pretty bad. And she was thinking we had a hole in the roof, and then she realized, well, the house is gone.
Coming up, first responders find their town in ruins.
Even though it's pitch black, you began to see the severity of the incident that had happened.
But first, this safety tip.
Practice makes perfect, and that especially applies to practicing to be prepared for disasters.
Having multiple evacuation routes planned in advance can help you evade disaster and threatening situations. Practicing these routes with all family members so that the routine can help save precious time in the event of disaster.
Take it from the heroic professionals and do what is necessary to ensure you and your family's well-being. You can't predict disaster, but you can certainly prepare for it. The time is now.
It was early morning, March 3rd, just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. The town, Mount Juliet, and it was in the direct path of several tornadoes. First responders were right there immediately after, rushing into the decimated neighborhoods.
Even though it's pitch black, you began to see the severity of the incident that had happened. Houses that you've been in, and now that house is on the ground. 2 schools on the east side of the road were impacted, and 3 neighborhoods completely impacted.
It's hard to describe. You drive up and down Mount Juliet Road every day and everything is in order, and all of a sudden you come around a curve and you've got massive amounts of destruction along the roadway there. You don't have but a very short period of time to process that.
The heroes made it to the Wallace's home. Bill and Shirley were buried under the debris.
They got my wife out first and carried her over. The only thing we had on was the clothes that we went to bed in. Some gentleman took off a hoodie sweatshirt, and she put that hoodie sweatshirt on so she could have a little bit of warmth.
Once the storms had passed and the immediate rescues were complete, there was a new challenge: recovering and rebuilding their lives.
You see an event like this, you see it firsthand. It's tangible. You're helping people, you're assisting people who just had their hopes and dreams completely smashed.
Everybody's contributed something to cleaning up the debris. Assessments right now are we are three weeks ahead of where we should be. So that's been good for folks. That's going to get them back.
Some of the first people to assist in the rebuild were reps from our sponsor, Belfour, and CEO Sheldon Yellen. They were all on the scene to lend both the help and encouragement to so many victims, including the wardens.
It's hard to believe that anybody could have got up and walked out of here.
Yeah, I was amazed that after looking at all of that just that closet, even though it fell down around behind us, that we didn't get injured. I had a bump on my head, and he had a scratch on his foot. He was sitting out here barefoot waiting for me to bring him some shoes, because he didn't have shoes. His shoes fell apart. And a man from Gallatin.
I believe it was Gallatin. Yeah, he was some kind of first responder. I don't know. He was plain clothes, but his truck had the lights on it and stuff. And he just come over, shook my hand, gave me some boots.
Yeah, handed him boots to work in. So he had those boots for, well, he still has them.
Yep.
Yeah, so
best pair of boots I've ever had.
Here you are. If you had a chance to see that first responder, what would you say to him today?
I probably remember him forever.
You guys are resilient, I'll tell you that.
I don't know what made me say it, but I just felt like, you know, we're gonna get through this, and
you guys are something. You really are.
Coming in, you've seen the signs. There's a lot of them everywhere that says, Mount Juliet strong. That's the way we are.
Coming up, teen counselors come to the rescue of children at a day camp.
It never crossed my mind that we were going to have a tornado, ever.
In July of 2018, a wedge tornado, that's a big guy, it cut right through America's heartland. Hardest hit, Main Street, Marshalltown, Iowa. All told, 22 people were injured and hundreds of buildings were destroyed.
Although their town was shredded, their spirit is what helped them survive. There were also young heroes that emerged from the unlikeliest places.
Marshalltown is a small, rural community of 27,000 people located about 50 miles northeast of Des Moines, in the heart of Iowa cornfields. Built on a love of family, baseball, and the pursuit of an honest day's work, Marshalltown is truly a slice of Americana. Every summer, Marshalltown has a day camp called Summer Blast. Each morning, parents drop their kids off at the historic Coliseum.
When you drop your kid off somewhere, you don't always think you need somebody to take care of them, but you do.
Fortunately, Summer Blast is run by dedicated camp counselors Alyssa and Deshauna. But little did they know, what seemed like a typical summer day would change their lives forever.
It started out like any other normal day. Went to the library in the morning, had fun at the library, came and got ready to go to the pool. No big deal.
There's always a different day. You never know what you're going to get yourself into, but it's so much fun.
But as kids played at the local gym and people in Marshalltown went about their daily lives, the atmosphere was preparing for a violent afternoon.
I don't know exactly what time it was, but I walked out and I saw the skyline, and it did not look very good.
Some of the other people in Marshalltown felt the exact same way. Sue Cahill, a teacher and city council member, lives downtown near the gymnasium where the Summer Blast camp was in full swing.
I was getting some beeps on my phone that there was some severe weather around. I'm pretty curious, like anyone else. I'm looking out my windows and I could see that the sky was very dark in the northwest part. When that happens, you don't get too excited because that's still pretty far away.
There were multiple tornadic storms marching through central Iowa that day. A tornado is basically a rapidly rotating column of air which typically forms out of thunderstorms when warm, moist air collides with cool, dry air. The severity of tornadoes are measured on the enhanced Fujita scale from EF0 to EF5, the worst of which features winds beyond a devastating 200 miles per hour.
Sirens went off, then we had a couple of deputies, I think, were spotting it.
Even though there were tornado warnings, as the Summer Blast day camp was coming to an end, parents were getting ready to pick up their kids from the Coliseum.
We went to get some groceries before I picked her up. I didn't think it was going to be serious at all. And I just kept shopping because, you know, it's Iowa and you get them all the time.
It never crossed my mind that we were going to have a tornado, ever.
But there wasn't just one tornado, there were two, and they were heading in the direction of central Marshalltown. First responders were prepared for the worst.
We had our rescue gear ready, along with the jaws of life and a few chainsaws.
When disaster strikes and when terror is facing us, these first responders put their lives on the line for all of us. Each and every day, they do it without hesitation.
Then, radar confirmed it. The closer tornado was going to make a direct hit on Marshalltown.
So at that point, I scurried down to the basement.
When I looked up, I saw clouds I'd never seen. They were racing back and going in a circle.
With the tornado a few blocks away, camp counselor Alyssa quickly takes charge and ushers the kids to the safest place available, the basement of the Veteran Memorial Coliseum.
Even when I was down in the basement, I didn't realize what was gonna happen until Alyssa had ran down to like the top of the steps and she goes, "There's a tornado."
Just something in me decided I needed to tell them that we need to get down on our knees and cover our head. And right when they were done, the tornado hit.
When tornadoes tear through an area, their force can destroy almost anything.
All you could hear was upstairs is like the Coliseum roof getting ripped off.
And after the tornado took out the spire of the courthouse, the tornado was gone. But it left behind epic devastation.
And we just went in a reaction mode and just, I know I grabbed a detective that went with me and we went right over, checking on people, make sure they're okay.
While first responders were out trying to make sure all the roads were safe, Sue emerged from her basement.
And I look outside and I could tell immediately that there were many, many tree limbs down.
Even though she was only blocks away from the wrecked Coliseum, her home only had minimal damage. As Alyssa moved all the children out of the damaged Coliseum, Rusty Mason was left wondering if his daughter Emerson had survived.
I hopped in my truck, headed for the Coliseum. I couldn't get there, so I parked 3 blocks away and just started running. As I got closer and closer, when you see the destruction, and you see the bricks, I found a group of people standing in the street, and I said, hey, does anybody know where the Summer Blast kids are? And they pointed in a direction, so I started running for that direction, and that's when I saw her, and as soon as she saw me, she started running towards me, and I just gave her a great big hug and didn't want to let go.
Seeing the parents embrace their kids was just something I'll never forget.
I think the Summer Blast staff will always be heroes to me. Because of them, I have her.
They know that that hug, that word of encouragement, that is the beginning of them rebuilding their lives.
Coming up,
I mean, this devastation is incredible.
how will this small town in Iowa rebuild both emotionally and physically after a devastating tornado? But first, another safety tip.
Still need ways to be prepared for a disaster? Just ask a first responder.
Beforehand, having multiple ways to get and stay informed, like having a weather radio, computer, and phone all able to transmit warnings is imperative. Also, an up-to-date home inventory list of all your possessions by room can help in the potential aftermath.
Take the time to learn what you should do to better help your future. You won't regret it. I guarantee it.
On July 19, 2018, Marshalltown, Iowa was hit by a tornado packing winds upwards of 114 miles per hour. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt. Some parts of Marshalltown suffered only minor damage, while others were devoured.
It was just amazing to me what I was seeing. I got to the courthouse and I realized the spire at the very top of the clock tower, it was gone.
This one came right through town, right down Main Street.
A week later, this tight-knit community is even tighter. They got overwhelming support from the entire state of Iowa. And now the construction phase is underway and going strong. Marshalltown enlisted the help of our sponsor, Belfour, a team of disaster relief and restoration specialists.
We know that we will help rebuild these physical structures, and the communities will bounce back because their congregating places are going to be alive and active again.
We have gotten such support to restore our building that is a historical building in our community dedicated to the veterans. That means the world to us.
We have so many wonderful things that have been given to us, which is just a testament to the community of Marshalltown.
The rebuilding process has begun, both physically, as you see here, and emotionally, as these people that we've seen here today and have talked to today have shared with us.
Despite all of the physical damage, no lives were lost that day because the community was ready and they had a plan. Marshalltown wasn't broken on July 19th. It was strengthened and united. Many people found their inner hero that day, and it's the resilient spirit that will lead Marshalltown to an even better tomorrow.
In so many disasters, we get a chance to learn about the victims, but then we don't really get to hear it from the hero or their side of the story.
We're so grateful we get to celebrate these brave men and women and look forward to doing it again next time on Hearts of Heroes.
Thanks so much for watching.